Our webinar today is entitled Customer Case, Tennant's Global Implementation of SAP PLM. This webinar will discuss how Tennant, a global industrial manufacturer, is overcoming engineering change order and product release challenges through a global PLM strategy using SAP PLM, providing stakeholders with a single version of the truth throughout its engineering change order and product release processes. My name is Alan Mendel, Vice President of LeverX, and the moderator for today's webinar. Before I turn the time over to our presenters, let me briefly introduce you to LeverX. LeverX assists companies increase business value by leveraging existing investments in SAP solutions. LeverX is an SAP services partner and an associate member of the PLM Alliance. LeverX delivers strategic, functional, and technical services in the areas of SAP Product Lifecycle Management, Portfolio and Project Management, and related solutions such as mobility. LeverX offers services for business process and strategic consulting, solution architecture deployment and development, implementation, planning and execution, application management support, on-site and remote delivery models. In addition, LeverX provides services for SAP mobile application strategy, development and implementation, as well as a broad set of SAP technologies, including SAP NetWeaver, Workflow, Business Warehouse, and Business Objects. Today's webinar is being recorded, and SAP customers attending will receive a follow-up email over the next few days with a link to download presentation materials and a recording of this webinar. We are pleased to introduce our presenters for today's webinar, Jason LaPlante, Business Process Governance for Tennant, and Shobit Singhal, Senior SAP PLM Consultant for LeverX. Our webinar agenda will proceed as outlined. First, we'll hear Tennant's PLM strategy and SAP PLM implementation by Jason, whereupon Shobit will follow and discuss unique aspects of Tennant's SAP PLM implementation. We will then open the webinar to a few of your questions. So with that, let's turn the presentation over to you, Jason.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Okay, I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. Hello. As Alan said, my name is Jason LaPlante. I've been with Tennant now for a number of years, and in 2008 we began our exploration and journey into SAP PLM. And so I'll be talking about that whole journey to this point. So as you can see, Tennant provides cleaning solutions to the industry of hotel, outdoor cleaning, and any other areas that use industrial and commercial size floor cleaning equipment. So we talk about why Tennant selected SAP PLM for our global PLM strategy. I'll talk about developing a viable implementation strategy for a global product data management system and engineering change with SAP PLM. I'll talk about the progress we've made since our deployment in mid-2010, and talk a bit about the benefits that we've achieved since our PLM implementation. And actually, you'll kind of get a feeling for the benefits achieved as we go through the whole presentation. One disclaimer I want to point out that because we started our PLM implementation in 2008-2009, we actually started with core functionality, change management functionality, and workflow functionality based in the ECC environment. And our next phase is to move into the implementation of the actual PLM module at 7.02. And so we'll be leveraging all of the development that you'll see here when we go into 7.02 deployment. So Tennant has been around for quite some time, been involved in the industry that we're in now since about the early 1900s. We've been growing organically and through acquisitions, so now having manufacturing operations in several locations in the United States, in the Netherlands, United Kingdom, China, and Brazil. We have engineering functions dispersed around these locations in the U.S., Netherlands, the United Kingdom, as well as in Brazil. And we have a global sales and service network that go into almost every country in the world. So we're a very diverse group. I think Tennant is representative of many of SAP's clients in the PLM world. We're not as big as some of the huge multi-billion-dollar corporations, but we're not small. So we have the full mix of complexity that I think most clients can relate to. We have a solid platform where we're running on a single instance of SAP ECC 6.0, and we've deployed the Enhancement Pack 5. We run the entire company on the system, so everything production planning, ERP, finance, human resources, quality, transportation, and of course PLM. So just a little bit of a history then on where we started from. The main thing that I want to point out here is that this will be probably a similar and a familiar story that most companies find themselves in, migrating from people-intensive processes in the past to a more system-driven and technology-driven system in the future. So like many, and I've been involved in manufacturing companies of several sizes and industries, and they all seem to have come from, you know, the past of managing their business, managing engineering change management on Excel spreadsheets, and Tennant was no different. They had a very complex Excel spreadsheet with macros in it that were embedded to drive Outlook email notifications when engineering change orders were being passed around the company. They were integrated into SAP primarily just through the change master, and there were some phases in the change master that would be clicked off as the Excel spreadsheet was passed from department to department. But other than that, that was primarily the only integration into SAP as far as change management goes. Bill of material management and updates, material management updates, those were all kind of handled manually and through the email network to get changed eventually into production. So therefore, at any given point in time, you had very limited overall visibility to the status of ECOs. We had a fairly large, for a company of our size, we had a fairly large central records team, and their sole function was to track engineering change orders and assist engineering in operations with managing the engineering change orders. And, you know, that was a luxury that, like many companies, we could no longer just manage processes with lots of bodies. So we had to resolve that issue to become scalable and growth-oriented during lean times. It also resulted in an unacceptably high level of audit effort to keep data correct and to keep data synchronized with operations between engineering and operations, and especially around the globe. So we had records personnel, engineering records personnel scattered out into each of the plants with a large group here at the headquarters. Even with all of that, we still had a high percentage of what we call chaser ECOs. So if an engineering change order was going through on one or more models, quite often, because of the lack of visibility backwards and forwards between engineering and operations, we ended up missing information or missing details. So then you'd write a chaser ECO to go back and fix those issues. And it was especially inconsistent when those changes affected multiple production plants that were involved in the supply chain or delivery of products, the same product from multiple plants. So again, I think that's a scenario that a lot of companies can relate to. I don't think Tennant is unique, and I used to be embarrassed to admit this, but you know, this is, I think, the case for a lot of companies that I've talked to in the past several years.